We are going to go ahead and bring on the man himself. We're going to get our Skype interview up with our first instructor of the day, Mr. Andrew Scrivani. Andrew, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How's everybody doing?
They are all fantastic. We are all fantastic. Excited to see your course. So what was it that you taught during Photo Week? Give us a little bit of a description of that.
Well, I taught two classes, but the one that you are introing here is the editorial food photography class, where mainly what I went over was different styles of narrative storytelling with pictures. So we went from a single image to multiple images to like a slideshow presentation, and how all those are a little bit different in how you tell stories visually.
Fantastic. Very excited to see it, because I didn't actually get to watch it because I didn't host for you that week. So I personally am excited to watch it. Now, you have been on CreativeLive a couple of times since then to do full workshops. Let's talk briefly about those as well. First of all, your food photography one was huge. A lot of people love that one. Let's talk about that. What were some of your memories of that, your favorite moments?
Well, I mean, it was interesting because we had such a great studio audience, and the internet audience was also just terrific. The questions coming in, and we covered so much material, from the actual photography itself to the styling and the propping. And I had such a great set behind me, and I was in a real comfort zone, because when I turned around to look for things the way I do in my own studio, everything was there for me. So it'll be a fun kind of a look into what it's like to work in this kind of an environment. And there's so much material that hopefully you'll be glued to your screen for that, because it's about 16 hours of material, and we went at it for 3 days. So it was great.
That's awesome. I love that. And I love that it was so interactive, because you got your studio audience really involved in that one. What was your thinking along that? Because sometimes our instructors like to get our studio audience involved. Sometimes it's more of like a teaching directly to. Why was it important for you to have the studio audience involved like that?
Well, I spent a good portion of my life as a teacher and a coach, and I think a lot of people learn by watching, but I think there's a good portion of people who like a tactile experience when it comes to learning. So I know I'm that way, and if I do something, I'll remember it. And I like to include students and people who are there to learn from me in my physical experience as well. So I think that's a big part of it.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I think that's a big part, because a lot of what we encourage people to do is to watch what they see on CreativeLive and then go out and do it. Because that's the part that we can give you all the content in the world, but if you don't actually go out and do anything with it, then it's just sitting in there. And so I love that you were able to actually get people excited and started working in the class itself.
Yep.
What was kind of the biggest thing that you wanted people to take away from that course? What was the major lesson you want people to learn?
Don't be afraid. I mean, just get in and do it, because quite honestly, you can't be afraid to make mistakes. Failure is always an option, and you always have to be aware that, but through your failures, you learn more success. So you can't be afraid. And I think a lot of times people fear that they're going to make a mistake, and there are no mistakes. They're just learning opportunities. And I think that's what, with CreativeLive in particular, gives people a lot of opportunity to figure it out on their own, make mistakes, and understand that's going to be okay.
I love that. That's kind of a theme that I'm trying to embrace right now in my own life. So let's talk about your tabletop photo workshop as well.
We learned all types of different lighting techniques for tabletop, from daylight to strobes to HMIs to hot lights, DIY stuff that you could pick up at the hardware store, all the way up to high-end movie lighting. So we did both still and video presentation for tabletop, and we went and really got in elbows deep, and I actually had the studio audience really even more active in that one. They were kind of had challenges that they had to kind of undertake with and without my help. So it was, and we had all sorts of products to shoot, wide range of kind of problems to solve. And I think for the most part, if you have any interest in tabletop photography, if you have any application, you'll find something in there.
That's great. I think that's one of those interesting things where, when you're shooting people, it's like you've got a range of skin tones and maybe like glasses or no glasses and hair or no hair, like you and me. But other than that, it's a pretty standard set of what you're dealing with. Whereas with tabletop photography, the textures, the colors, the reflectiveness, like everything changes every single shoot you do. And so having that wide variety of options and tools at your disposal, I think that's huge. Is that your experience?
Yeah, I mean, there are so many different problems to tackle when you're dealing with shooting different products, like you said, textures and shine and all these other things. But it's also about understanding basics of lighting in that you can solve those problems with pretty much whatever tools you have. Now, whether or not that's going to be applicable to whatever your client wants or whatever your objective is, that's another story. But if you understand the basic principles of lighting for tabletop, you'll come away with at least the basic skills to shoot what you need to shoot.
That's fantastic. I love it. Okay, so I want to hear, we've got a little bit of time left. I want to hear some of the biggest questions that you get from people about your work in general or the things you're teaching.
Well, one of the questions I've been getting since the beginning of this was, is the food real when I shoot food? And it's a fun question because everyone who works with me will attest to the fact that not only is it real, but we try to make it delicious as well. And that way everybody has a good experience and they're well fed by the time they go home. So
And I'm
that's
sure
always one of those.
it encourages people to work quickly so that it doesn't cool off, so you can enjoy it.
Yes, sure.
I love it. And let's talk also about kind of getting started. We've got a lot of people who watch something like Photo Week in order to see different types of photography and decide new things they want to try or different subjects they want to explore. So what is something that you wish you had known when you first started as a professional photographer?
Well, I think part of it is I think we go into artistic forms as artists first. And what we realize is that it's a business more so than an art form. I mean, if you talk about a percentage, I've heard people say as much as it's 80% business and 20% art. And I think that going into it, understanding that really helps you as somebody who might want to become a professional, because the professional part of it, there are a lot of people who make really pretty pictures and post them online and put them on Instagram and social media. But there's a big difference between being able to make a pretty picture once in a while and doing it every day and doing it every time in any circumstance. And I think sites like CreativeLive are hopefully people feel that they come and they get a range of information that helps them both creatively and as a person who's potentially going to take it in the business world. I think somebody that explained that to me going in, I wouldn't have been as disillusioned in the beginning of my career going, I'm an artist, I want to create things. And you're fighting with art directors about, the way things have to be presented. So you have to understand those things and be versatile. And that's the business part of it, is that you can have your creative vision, but you have to be versatile and accessible and easy to get along with, and somebody who understands how to negotiate. All of those things are a big part of our business.
I love that. That's something that that I hear a lot here, and whenever people ask what courses they should check out, I always tell them, if you want to be a professional photographer, check out the business courses, because those are the ones that are really going to help you actually make it happen. So I love to hear that from you as well. I mean, it's when you're dealing with people who are just getting started and who have that artistic goal in mind, they want to do that. It is really hard to think of it as, well, I actually need to support myself with this. And
Yes.
so approaching it as a business from the beginning doesn't mean you can't be artistic. It just means, I actually like what you said, where you have to do it all the time, because I heard somebody say that the difference between a professional artist and I forget the other term, was basically that you don't get to wait for your muse. You don't get to sit and wait. You have to be able to create on demand. So any thoughts on just creating on demand?
Yeah, I mean, I think that is definitely a challenge, because there are days when I wake up and I go to the studio and it all just flows because I'm feeling creative that day. But then there's other days where you have to rely on your experience and your knowledge and the things that worked in the past, where maybe you're not finding new inspiration, but you can rely on your chops, the things that you have developed over time that will rescue you when you're not feeling particularly creative.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your day today to join us, Andrew. We really appreciate it. We've loved having you on CreativeLive, and especially here during Photo Week. So thank you again for joining us.
I love it. I can't wait to come back, and I hope everyone enjoys the course.